I feel like she's in residence here at Yum's the Word because she's been on the show so much this year, but I'm delighted to have her back. She is a 7-time Moth Story Slam winner. She has been on Risk, and she has been here many times. Please give it up for Sandi Marx.
Lashana Tova, bitches. So I'm standing in front of Temple Sinai with my sister Rhonda. We have been in Hebrew school an entire school year, and the only thing I know is Hashem Shali Sandi. That's it. That's all I know. So at 9 years old, my sister's 12. We're never getting bat mitzvahed. It's not in our future. But maybe with Hashem Shali Sandi, I could get a job at Costco in the Gaza Strip, maybe like standing out front, greeting people in my red vest, because that's all I got. Okay, so we hate Hebrew school, but we're standing in front of the temple. It's 112th Street, and we're waiting for our mother to pick us up. Okay, so we hear her way before we see her. She's in like one of these, it's a Dodge Dart, okay? We're old. It's a Dodge Dart. It's a mess. We could hear her way before we see her, and there were sparks kind of grifting on the sidewalk because the muffler's hanging down. And she pulls up, and I'm so grateful that there's nobody around because we're so disgraced that this is our life. It's like Sanford and Son. And my sister and I quickly get into the car, and we think, okay, nobody's seen us. And my mother, who's usually kind of sweet, her face is all kind of sweaty and swollen. Now, if you're old enough to remember Ernest Borgnine on McHale's Navy, I don't know if you know that show, when he's always like yelling at people, she's like sweating and swollen, and I know she's really angry, so we know not to say anything. And then she says, no more Hebrew school, no more temple, we've been kicked out. And my sister and I were like, what? This is the best thing we've ever heard. God has answered our prayers. Okay, so we don't know what's going on. She says the rabbi, Begelman, has decided to use the slush fund to go to Israel and buy the 10 Commandments. Okay, now I'm 9 years old. I cannot wrap my head around the fact that the 10 Commandments were for sale and that they could be bought by this stupid Reformed temple in Queens, when I'm thinking like, well, if they're for sale, maybe they would go to like, Temple Emmanuel on Park Avenue, or maybe the Museum of Natural History would put it next to the Rosetta Stone. Why would they give these holy pillars to this fakakta Reformed temple? So I start to ask my mother, and she tells me I'm a moron. Shut up. It's just replicas to adorn the front of our temple. So I know, all right, shut up. Okay, now I had thought all this time that she was pissed off because I broke her favorite Virginia is for Lovers mug, or, maybe Mrs. Ostroff, my math teacher, told her that I had cheated, which I did all the time, on some test. But no, she's just pissed off at the temple that they kicked us out, even though Rhonda and I were like, this is such a moral victory because we hate going to temple. Okay, but this is the least of our problems, because back home on our kitchen table, there is this mound of unpaid bills. They all have that red stamp, second notice, third notice, because my parents have no money, and my sister is actually kind of sick. She was born with a small hole in her heart. Now, nowadays, it's no big deal. But when she was born in 1953, this was actually kind of like a thing. And the doctors had told my mom, you're on borrowed time. Even though my parents never believed it, I never believed it, my sister seemed so normal, and we grew up together. Unfortunately, when my sister turned 21 and I was 18, one day, she just didn't wake up. And that was it. She went to Long Island Jewish Hospital. And as a sidebar, don't get sick on a July 4th weekend, because there is nobody to treat you. My sister's doctor was playing golf, and all these new interns were at the hospital, so nobody knew exactly what to do. And unfortunately, my sister died. And now we are not members of the Jewish community. We have no temple. We have no rabbi. We haven't been to a Yom Kippur service in years. We don't know what the fuck to do. But our family and friends say, okay, don't worry. We're going to put you in touch with the right people. So the next day, we go wandering, like meandering, shuffling. We were so fucked up and upset over to the Garlic Funeral Parlor on Queens Boulevard in Queens, and we meet with Rabbi Schwartz. And thank God I'm totally stoned on Valium, because I would not have been a very positive influence in that room, in that rabbi's study. So as soon as we walk in, I hate this man, this rabbi, the minute I see him. He looks and he smells like an everything bagel. He's disgusting. He has like a poppy seed between his teeth, right? And he has like dandruff on a shiny, you know those suits where the wife irons the suit so it's shiny because she didn't want to pay for the dry cleaning, and the desk is covered in crap, and he has that like Seinfeld sing-song voice where he's saying, you know, Rhonda, she's in a better place. The angels must have a reason. And thank God I was so stoned, or I would have like taken the pen off his desk and stabbed him with it, because he was so heinous. But my mother had the presence of mind to give him a list of everything that she wanted this dude to say at the service. So we kind of like shuffled our way out. And the next day, with like hundreds and hundreds of people in that chapel, he says all the things my mother wanted him to say, which was Rhonda was an amazing girl. She had gone to college, she had a boyfriend, she wanted to be an artist, she was so positive, she was an incredibly upbeat person. And then, of course, he pronounces my mother's name wrong. He calls her Greta instead of Greta, but we're splitting hairs, we're too stoned to notice. And then we shuffle out. But our friends say in the Jewish religion you have to sit Shiva for 7 days, which we don't want to do, but we want to be Jews just for the week. So we go back to the house. We have these, they're like fake cardboard, pretend wood boxes that we're supposed to sit on for an entire week, because you're supposed to be uncomfortable. Like, we're not uncomfortable already. But we do it, we go, we sit, 7 days, everybody comes, they bring the lox, the bagels. I don't eat probably for the whole week. And then when that 7th day comes, we just toss that shit away. And again, we are not Jews anymore, because we're so angry. Like, what kind of God would let this beautiful girl die? It seems so crazy to have any faith. I mean, I like being Jewy. I mean, my grandma Hannah, she used to make stuffed cabbage, and I'd love to go to her house and watch like these huge bat wing arms, like flapping, like ventilating the whole kitchen. And she would say, everybody's miskite, which is my favorite Yiddish word, which means the neighbor's daughter is hideous. I just love that word. But that was like the extent of our Judaism. So, okay, time passes, 10 years goes by, and I marry a lovely Goyish, non-Jewish guy, this really white guy whose family is totally Presbyterian, not by choice, but I really like the idea that he's not a Jew. And we decide that we're gonna raise our kids like whatever we want. Like, we'll be Easter, there'll be Passover, there'll be Hanukkah, like whatever comes up, we'll just celebrate it. We don't want to have like real religion, we just want to have all the festivities. So we do that. And the kids seem kind of cool about it. What do they know? I mean, we're just telling them we're having Easter, we're having Christmas. Okay, so time goes by, and then the most unbelievable thing happens. These children become adults, and they have minds of their own. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And they all decide to go to Israel on this amazing thing called birthright. Now, if you don't know what birthright is, if you're a Jew or a half-Jew, there's this amazing opportunity for free, if you're under 26, to go to Israel completely on the expense of the United Jewish Federation. They pay for it, and they just have you go there for 10 days and learn about Israel. Now, okay, I'm a cynic, so I'm thinking, oh yeah, great, they're indoctrinating them, they want them to be really Jewy, they're gonna go over there, and they're gonna come back really Jewish. Well, in fact, they kind of did, because all 3 of my kids were bar mitzvahed in Israel, which was like, what? And not only that, but they were like kind of into it, which I didn't want to like say anything, but was like, all right, fine, whatever you want. So what I learned, what I decided, because I knew I had to shut my fucking mouth about it, was that if my children choose to go this path, more power to them. And if I can live long enough to see any of them have their children bar mitzvah, I'm more than happy to stand on the bima, even though I don't know any Hebrew, because honestly, Hashem Shali, Sandi, I am Sandi, and I am still a Jew. Thank you.
Yum's the word